As soon as I started recording, or I say your video went fucking fine.
Oh,
So,
well, there you go. It all worked out.
yeah, I guess so. I don't give a fuck. Shit, it's been a minute.
I know.
Been a couple weeks. Shit, I'm tired, so you're gonna have to bear with us, family. As always, welcome back to another episode of Candid Conversations, aka the Mr. Candid Podcast. You can find us over on Anchor FM. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and more. You will be able to find us under Mr. Candid Podcast. That's what we're switching over to. But as always, we will continue to have candid conversations. I enjoy seeing, what sticks I can put up y'all ass. But as always, if you're looking for Candid Conversation and Mr. Candid merch, you can go over to mrcandidpodcast.com. Once again, that is mrcandidpodcast.com. You can get your t-shirts, your hoodies. We're working on sweats, especially for these cold winter months, the autumn months that is coming up. All the hoodies in the other room, I'd show you all that. Like I said, t-shirts, hoodies, sweats coming soon. Ladies wear coming soon. You can get your coffee mug, you can get your water bottle, and more merch coming. But right now, go and support. This is the t-shirt right here, and y'all, there you go. This is the white t-shirt. I got on the motherfucking gray t-shirt. You can get a black t-shirt. You can get a sports gray. I think that's what it's called, t-shirt. The hoodies are all come in black. Maybe I need to do some white ones, but we'll see. Anyway, I'm your host. For those who don't know, I'm your host, Mr. Candid. With me, with my co-host, is Amanda Sword. Say what's up, Amanda.
Hi.
You froze again on his grin.
Oh, God.
Oh, well. Maybe the playback be better. Anyway, so tonight's topic, we want to do the part 2, life after divorce. And in this episode, we're going to be talking about the spirituality of things. The last episode, we talked about the economic portion of it. We talked about the mental state of mind of it. And so this topic, this episode, excuse me, we want to dive into, like I said, the spiritual aspect of it, because I think that's one of the biggest aspects that a lot of people really don't deal with. And when they do, it's more so as victimization spirituality. It's never accountable spirituality. It's never truly empowering. So we want to get into that. First of all, Amanda, I would like to hear your perspective as far as as far as the spiritual process after being divorced. Go into it.
Oh, Lord. I mean, what exactly do you mean when you say, like, just like what my process was, or like how what do you mean when you say spiritual aspect? Like,
well, I always say that there are two sides to every relationship. Let us start there. So there's two sides to every relationship. You have your socioeconomic side, And that's how society defines relationship and relating, and what that may consist of, when it comes to um, how it looks. That's your socioeconomic side. When you talk about spirituality, um, the family know that I'm always discussing relationship, especially in that sense, because a lot of times it's not dealt with. And so when I speak of spirituality, I mean the purpose of that particular relationship, the dynamic in which one learns themselves inside of that relationship, and who they learn, who and what they learn about themselves coming out of it. So we know that the socioeconomic side of relationship is marriage, and what that consists of, the third party being the state being involved in that particular relationship. But when it comes to the spiritual side of marriage, you have divine masculine and you have divine feminine, and they have their roles, they have their purpose in the dynamic of a relationship. And so as far as the divine masculine, there's a sense of security and comfort when it comes into that, and most men unfortunately don't have even a basic understanding of that. And when it comes to the divine feminine pertaining relationships going into a marriage, most women don't have a basic sense of spirituality. Did that make sense?
Yes. And I mean, I'm like super happy that you clarified that and kind of explained it to me, because to be honest with you, I think that's for me, and if I'm being completely candid with you, like that's been something that I've struggled with. So the other aspect and the other stuff that we talked about last week, and what did you just say, the economic side, and just the like the way that like a relationship like is perceived like to the outside and to everyone else, and all the other stuff that gets like, you know, brought into it. I think that I have been so caught up on that side that I think I've had some really good connections and relationships with people in that spiritual side, but I've been so obsessed with like it not looking the way that it should look to the public, or to you know, to everyone's standards, that I've not embraced that part of the relationship the way that I should have, because even though there's been really good connections and really good chemistry with someone, and they've allowed me to like get outside of my comfort zone and make me think about things that I maybe don't want to, or make me feel a way that like is almost uncomfortable, I've pushed those relationships away, because because I feel like society and everything, it's like society makes you feel like this world is meant for, like everything is just like it's meant for a traditional relationship. I mean, you have all these, you know, holidays, you know, you have Sweetest Day, you have Valentine's Day, you have freaking, you know, people that just like, well, like we're going on a couple's night, like you have all this stuff that like I feel like if you're not bringing someone to, if you're not like open to the world as being in a relationship, then it doesn't, then if you have something going on the side that might be really good for you, that might be a completely different connection that you've ever felt, you can't bring it to the world in the way that everyone thinks that you should. And so those relationships scare me. So I don't think I've been in touch with that side as much as I should, because I push those, I end up either walking away or push those relationships, I bury them.
Okay. So would you say that those type of relationships you actually run from? Okay. And the reason why I asked that particular question, because so many people, they say they want a spiritual connection in a relationship, but they truly have no fucking idea what that entails, you know. And the family, no, I express to the family all the time. It's one of the things that, in this circle of life, in this particular lifetime, one of the things that, excuse me, one of the things that is my life's challenge this particular go around is the balance of building a legacy when it comes to material gains, and then also the depth of my spiritual awakening. And when it comes to spirituality, the reason why so many people are actually afraid of it inside of a relationship is because that's one aspect of the relationship that is truly uncontrollable, in the sense of your significant other being able to control how you respond to particular things. And when I began my spiritual awakening, the author Zoe Williams, the first book that I read that really challenged my awakening process was the Relationship Dismount: How to Stick the Landing When Exiting a Toxic Relationship. Now, the title threw me off. It really threw me off. But one of the things that I gained perspective of was the toxic relationship that I was in was me. And so one of the things that I had to do, it challenged everything that I believe and thought I knew and thought I believed to be true. Mm-hmm. So one of the things throughout the entire book, it's a reading workbook. And I suggest anyone that is in a relationship, getting ready to get into a relationship, coming out of a relationship, regardless of what your status is when it comes to a relationship, I encourage everyone to get that book and read it. And one of the things that I loved about it, it's a reading workbook for one. And then two, the questions that were asked after each individual chapter, it was extremely difficult to put the blame or force accountability on the opposing party or on the other party. I won't even say opposing party, but on the on your significant other in which you were in, are in, or getting ready to be in a relationship with. It caused you to take full. Excuse me, I shouldn't have ate. Excuse me. It forces you to take full accountability. And that was a dynamic that is difficult for, I'd probably say 99% of humanity, because in a relationship, when we get out of a relationship, when we respond accordingly to anyone that we're relating with, we blame them for our response. We blame them for how we respond to them. And one of the things about spirituality, the definition of spirituality is the quality of being concerned with the human spirit or soul as opposed to material or physical things. Now, the reason why that hits hard is because most of our relationships is based on the physical and material things. It's void of truly any real type of spirituality. And so what ends up happening is that because society puts so much pressure on us to have our relationships look a particular way, which you had mentioned, women, one of the things that I've noticed is that women are trying to take on characteristics in the role of a man, and men have begun to take on characteristics in the role of the feminine. And this is where you get a lot of women saying, where all the real men at? My response to them is, well, you raised what we have today, so how can you be mad? But in spirituality, before I go there, let me ask you this. Looking back at all of your relationships, you were the common denominator of all relationships.
Mm-hmm.
What did you find out? What did you come to the realization of that you needed work on within yourself?
So honestly, I mean, I feel like I wouldn't consider myself like I'm not a controlling person in most things, and in life really. Like I don't consider myself like needing to be someone that needs to have control, and that is like, a dictator. But at the same time, like in a relationship, I think what I struggle with is like the same thing with, I mean, so to touch base, like, really with what you said about just making that spiritual connection. I mean, that connection with someone makes you very vulnerable, and you have to like, let go. And for me, like, I think not living in the moment and just like the unknown of things in a relationship is what I struggle with. Like, I think I've always been like, a planner and like a one step ahead. And I always got to see like, and, I always have to like set things up to make sure that I can see like what the next move is going to be. And you can't do that in a relationship, really. You don't know, like, I mean, you have to just enjoy every moment. And I think I end up, getting caught up with thinking that, moments and things should go this way or go that way. And if they don't, then like, it's ruined, or it's not, wasn't like, it didn't go as they planned. And so I think for me, it's just like kind of letting go and just letting things happen and play out. And like I said, truly enjoying, what time is given to me, what opportunity is put in front of me, and making the most of it. And I think that, for me, that has been something that I've learned the most about my relationships, because I know that I have not, I've taken for granted and not appreciated, things that were given or offered, and done with them what I should.
Okay. Why?
I think a big part of me is because like I said, I think I let society tell me what something should look like. I let them tell me that, okay, at this point in your time knowing someone, you should be here or you should be there. Or, if they're not, I think for me, like I said, if someone is offering me something, but it's maybe like not what I think should be offered to me at that moment, it's not enough in my eyes. Or, okay, well, we're at this point, so you should be doing this with me, you should be doing that with me. Like, I think that's where I'm like getting caught up. And so when things are offered and are like an olive branch, so to speak, is being given to me, or an opportunity is being put in front of me, I guess I'm always saying, I guess I always want more. Like, because I might be there, I might be at the point where I'm ready, or I'm like, okay, well, seeing me for an hour, or you taking time to see me for an hour, or, whatever, like when I want 2 hours, or when I think that, that maybe that like we're past that at this point, like we should be doing this together, we should be doing that together. Like, I think I have not appreciated and embraced the moments that have been offered to me. And so I end up ruining those moments, because I end up sitting there like thinking, well, that's great that you asked me to come over tonight, or you asked to see me today, or you asked to do this, but why didn't you do it yesterday? I'm like, I think I've just taken things for granted.
Mm. Okay. And the crazy thing, about that is I see and hear that from a lot of women. The unappreciative moments.
And I don't mean to be that way. Like it like saying it out loud makes it sound crazy, but it's like I'm a very I guess I'm the I feel like I appreciate things. I'm a very caring person, and I want to be grateful is what I'm trying to say. I'm a grateful person, and I can see that and I can be that way in friendships and in just relationships that I have with someone. But when it comes to my significant other or someone that I don't know, I tend to just dwell on things and not live in the moment.
And like I said, that's a lot of women. Because one of the things that I hear oftentimes when speaking to different women about relationship is that it's almost a sense of entitlement. Whether women realize it or not, it's like I'm entitled to these things. And so when a man does something for you, it's a lot of women think or feel that they are showing or expressing appreciation, but in a way, to a man, it's almost condescending, and it's almost as our thought process is, why the fuck did I do it anyway? I should have never did it. You know what I'm saying? If they can't appreciate and accept the time and the things, that I'm giving, and whether it may be minute in your eyes, the sacrifice I've made to make this happen, because there's always something else that I could be doing, it's not enough. So in our minds is, well, it'll never be enough, so I'm just gonna stop doing it.
No, yeah, you're 100% correct.
And and I mean, unfortunately, this is why a lot of men just say fuck it. A lot of men just don't put in the effort because of that.
Mm-hmm.
It's
and that's the thing. No, go on.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, and that's the thing, because for me, it's like I know what I have to offer, and I 100% want to be someone's piece. I want to be, I want to be that to someone, and I know that not even deep down, but I just know that my character and the type of person that I am, that's just that's how I'm built. That's how I'm made. I want to be nurturing. I want to be, giving and catering, and I want to be all that stuff. But I feel sometimes the longer I invest in someone, or the longer that I'm talking to someone or seeing someone, I feel that's when my expectations essentially go up, and so then I'm just basing everything off of time frames, and I'm and I feel the longer you invest in someone, or the longer someone's in my life, I feel that's when those not so good qualities end up kind of taking over, because I'm then always just okay, well, I want more, and then I'm always wanting more, when because so much time has been invested, that I feel I have to almost be validated that that my time is worth putting in, you know what I'm saying? And so I have to have almost a tangible thing to be okay, well, this is something I can hold on to take into the future, to take to the next step, because you did this for me, or you did that with me, or you asked me to do this. It's just almost those things being offered to me or being presented to me are just kind of things that I then like take with me and am able to move forward and know that like I'm, I've essentially like, made a step closer to the end game, I guess you can say.
Here's the problem with that I don't think most women even think about. If roles were reversed, and if and when a man puts those same level of expectations on women, most women fold. Most women can't handle expectations that a man puts on her. But a woman has all these expectations when it comes to a man.
And I guess I agree with you. I 100% agree with you. I guess like I think, I mean, and it's not, I'm not saying it's right, but I guess for me, what's kind of kept me stuck in that place has been, I don't necessarily look at them as like expectations. It's just almost like, I don't really like, I guess I've convinced myself that they're not necessarily expectations. They're just like, they're like stepping stones, so to speak, into like where the relationship, just kind of like I said, validation and just like stepping stones into the, like the direction that I want the relationship to go. So I think that, unfortunately where a guy is like, okay, like, let's hang out, let's do this together. Like then so for me, it's like by hanging out with someone and having like an amazing time and a great time, that only then makes me want, like, obviously like that feeling that I have when I'm hanging out with that person that I want to be hanging out with makes me then want it all the time. And so I think that's the problem, is that I like the way I feel in the moment when I'm with a person. And so then I want to feel like that all the time. And so then when I'm not asked or offered, consistently, or when I think I should be, then it's like, that feeling of just like, okay, well, I liked how I felt when I was with you. So like, why wouldn't you want to see me? Why wouldn't you want to like hang out with me? Because didn't you like it too? You know what I'm saying? Like, it just then brings up all these reasons. Like, you'd rather just like, be by yourself, or you'd rather like, it's just, it then opens up this, like, just this rabbit hole that is not a good place to go down, but it stems from having a great time with that person and wanting more.
No, I completely get what you're saying. The detriment to that is, have you ever asked those men that you're interested in how they experience you? Because I keep hearing about your experience with that particular individual or whoever that may be. But have you ever, even with past relationships, men of your past, have you ever stopped and asked them, how did they experience you?
Yeah. So, I mean, I've never asked those exact words, but I feel like that answer has been like, those answers have come out when essentially we have conversation, or I wouldn't even say disagreement, but when we have conversation about the relationship itself, and just like, honestly, like this conversation that you and I are having, these candid, conversations.
What was the questions that you asked? And I can tell you if what you asked and what I just said had any correlation. I will tell you. Okay, so what were the questions that you asked?
Questions that I've asked, I guess, is kind of like, just where you see things going and different things like that. And to be honest with you, when that has been asked, but hang on, hang on, because I know it's not the same, but what I'm getting at is I'm saying that when that question was asked, it has opened up conversation like you and I are having. And honestly, the biggest barrier and where we like end up like just hitting a brick wall is that it's like the time that we have together, or the way that they have perceived me in those moments are good until I then do this, until I then like essentially like am like just seeking more. And then it's like, well, why, you know, like I can't look at going further with you because I know that every 3 weeks or every whatever, we're going to hit this, we're going to come right back here to this place.
Okay. Okay.
I mean, do you know what I'm saying? And so it's like, I'm my own worst enemy because I want.
That's there we go.
Yeah, I mean, and I know that.
So
I know that, but it's like I want that relationship so bad that here's
the thing. This is what relationships are intended for. It's not for the fuzzy feelings that so many women have lied to y'all, so many beta men and men haters have lied to y'all. It's not relationships. When it comes to spirituality, relationships is not about the fuzzy feeling. Relationships are meant to mirror back to you who and what you are. So it's not, it is the relationships that you've been in, the relationships that I've been in, it was to show me my triggers. Why the triggers? Because of whatever trauma that I dealt with or didn't deal with, those were the causes of my triggers. So whether I wanted to or not, at some point in time, I had to come to the realization and understanding, okay, these are wounds that I need to heal. They may take another 2 to 3, 5 relationships, but that's what the relationships are meant for. Mm-hmm. They're not meant for us to, oh, this person makes me feel all warm and fuzzy inside, and so I want to be with this person. No, the relationships that are spiritually meant for us is to challenge us in becoming the best version of ourselves. And this is why society as a whole is so fucked up. Because if you look back at relationships and marriages 50, 60, 100 years ago, the makeup and the structure that they had within them, whether we agree with them today or not, they stood the test of time. Mm-hmm. Our relationships today don't stand the test of time. Then when you look at, when we talk about the divorce rates and everything, 80% of divorce is filed by women, 20% by men.
Well, so, I did not know that.
So the society that we live in that teaches young girls and tell women that you deserve the best and everything, but you're not the best. See, men, you work with a bunch of men. You see how brutally honest men are with one another. Mm-hmm. But if you get a pack of women, the one who is brutally honest, the rest of the pack will gang up on her. Mm-hmm. Men are like, fuck it. You stand on your own feet, on your own 10 toes. You stand on it. Don't look for me for validation. If you getting that smoke from another man, hey, it is what it is. I'm gonna laugh over here, and I'm, and everything. And see, when men clown one another, even though we may say it in a joking manner, we're always speaking truth within that joke. Women, knowing their girlfriend is fucked up, oh girl, you know what? You deserve better. Why don't you tell her the truth? Baby, you know what? You fucked up. You ain't shit. You had a good man, and he did everything that you wanted him to do, but it still wasn't good enough for you. You ain't shit. And this idea of the entitlement of women telling each other what they deserve, when you get down to the crux of the matter, if you look at all of your relationships, your past relationships, and this is men and women in particular, but men inclusively, you can see your insecurities in every relationship past. They are showing you what you need to work on. But in that moment in time, instead of just saying, you know what, I need to take pause, I need to go and heal. I need to see. Last week we spoke on going to see clinical professional, and this week, you know, go and see a spiritual, you know, guidance counselor. You know, because all of us have some type of trauma that we're dealing with, and we're not taking the time to heal. We're not taking the time to become whole, and we're sitting up here and we're taking all of this bullshit, all of the garbage from the past relationship, what we didn't do and what we did do from our past relationship, what our significant other did and didn't do from our past relationships, and we're taking it into our present and our future relationships, and then wondering why it's still not working out. The common denominator is us. If it's not working out, we're the problem. It's not the person that we see that we sit across from us. It's us. All they're doing is mirroring back to us who we are. And that's why I said, when it comes to spirituality, most people will never do the spiritual work because it causes them to look on themselves. And one of the questions that I asked, I think it was last year or maybe a couple years ago, it came from the book that Zoe Williams wrote, The Relationship Dismount, How to Stick the Landing When Exiting a Toxic Relationship. And one of the things that he asked, which really fucked me up when I read it initially, because it started off as, what 3 characteristics make you the best relationship partner? And everybody and their mama can come up with 3 just like that. But the caveat to that same question was, what 3 characteristics makes you the worst relationship choice? And everybody, when I asked that, I didn't even ask the best, I asked the worst. And it made me laugh when reading the comments, because so many women jumped into the comments on my timeline and was like, well, this is what makes me the best. I didn't ask you that. I asked you what makes you the worst. You know, and society has created a template to where people say keep it 100, but you know, it's a nice cliche.
Yeah.
But most people don't, because when you sit up here, you know, and talk about what 3 characteristics make you a poor relationship decision, most people cringe at that. You know, and if you can be honest with yourself and says, you know what, these are the 3 out of a list of 10, these are the top 3 that I know needs immediate work.
Yes.
And then start there.
Yeah.
Because,
and I mean,
because what happens is, when you don't do the work yourself first, you're going to get in a relationship that's going to force you to do the work. And you can run and you can hide from everyone but yourself. And that's what spiritual awakening and spiritual work and the spiritual process is. It's you sitting alone in the middle of the floor, in the dark, on the couch, and analyzing yourself, being brutally honest with yourself, and not to the point of where you're demonizing or diminishing yourself, but being openly honest to say, you know what, I do need work in this area.
Yeah.
And
and
then hold on, I'm gonna come right back to you. And then when you get into, when you look at all of your relationships, from your family to your friends to coworkers to intimacy, when you look at that and you find yourself being triggered by something they say or they do, a true spiritualist will ask, you know what? Why is that triggering me? What is it about what they said or did that's got me uneasy? And then once you ask that question, you mentioned it earlier, one of the hardest things to do is for people to live in the moment. So I have reframed that to say, live in the question.
Mm-hmm.
And when you ask yourself that question, it might take you a few months to get the entire answer to. It might take you another intimate relationship to get the answer to that said question. But the problem is that we live in a microwave society, and people truly don't want to do the spiritual work because it might take 5, 10, 15 relationships to become whole in that one question. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, like, to touch base on, what you said a second ago, just with, with how, guys are brutally honest and tell each other what it is and stuff like that. Like, honestly, like, I still have a long way. But I'm very grateful, and I didn't realize I needed it. But I have needed, and like I said, very grateful of the honesty and just the growth that I feel like I'm, trying to make and continuing to make by, being forced to hear the truth from all of you guys at work. And obviously the some days are harder than others. The truth isn't always easy to hear. But I think it's very much needed. And for me, it's easy to sit there, it's like, until you hear truly what, like, obviously, like, I have men, like, physically standing in front of me telling me, okay, sweetheart, like, you might think that, like, what you bring to the table or what you say, like, is your best quality. Like, we're telling you what we want. Like, we are actually giving you the game, and you can't sit there and say, but I have this, but I do this. Like, and that's always been my fallback, is like, okay, but I might be lacking here, but I do this. Well, okay, but they're telling you that where you're lacking is not okay. And I've never been given that before, and obviously it's, some things are harder to fix than others, but some aren't. Some are easy fixes that, unless you hear, like, I'm lucky enough to hear it right straight from, men's mouths of all ages, and know that, like, okay, like, this is something that's an easy fix. And if I'm not going to do it, then obviously that's on me. And, like, that's, then I really don't want to better myself or to move forward, in relationships. So like I said, obviously some are harder to hear than others, and some are harder to fix than others, but to actually have that information given to me on a daily basis, it's priceless.
And it's crazy because, with you saying that, this is why, this is why when parents, when they decide to have children, the reason why it's so crucial for both parents to be involved is because you have nowadays, little girls don't relate with their fathers, so when they get older, they don't know how to relate with a man. And being a father myself of a daughter, what will innately happen is that without that particular relationship, just like you said, you are around men every day that give you that. That's a father's job. And even with my father, my sisters, that was his job. That's not their man's job. How they saw my mom and my mother, may she rest in power, relate to my father, that's how they learn how to relate to men.
Yeah.
So whatever the toxicity of their relationships are, is because they saw something from my mom and or my mother and how they related with my father. In good times and bad times and disagreeable times, that's how they learn how to relate. So with their relationships fail or succeed, they learn that from them.
Yeah.
And what tends to happen is that I run into a lot of women who don't know how to relate with men. And a lot of times it's because they don't have a relationship with their father. So just like you, we've never had a discussion about your relationship with your father. I'm just throwing that out there in general. But like you said, as far as being surrounded by men and getting this game, the mothers that are out there, if you have daughters, I strongly encourage you to if their father is in their lives, encourage her to and get her to understand that. Because spiritually, so many women today are so damaged because of not having that relationship.
Yeah. So not to like, I mean, and I'm not going to get into it deeply, but it's kind of crazy because as we're talking about this, I guess for me, it's kind of like an aha moment for like just kind of moving forward. And I guess something that I've never actually like stepped back and really like looked at or compared to my relationships. But as we talk about the relationship that I have with my dad, I mean, my dad was always, I mean, he was in my life and lived with me until, I was, 18, but I lived my life always wanting to please him. That was what that was how I lived my life, was always never wanting to disappoint him and always wanting just to get his approval or to get his, just to make him happy. And it's crazy because I guess I never like correlated that, but I do that now. And so I think that's where my feelings, I mean, even you can kind of let me know if you agree, I guess, but like I get my feelings hurt at work even because I will do that just in everything. Like even, when I'm at work, I want everyone to like me. I want everyone to agree with me. I want everyone to like, I just want to try and like, please everyone. And I think when I get a reaction that maybe is not, it's probably, it's probably the truth, or obviously like how someone's feeling in that moment, or like something that I maybe made them feel, but I was thinking that I did something, I wasn't meaning to make them feel that way or whatever. So if I get a reaction back, whether it be just with a coworker or with someone that I, am trying to date or whatever, and it's not, it's, I either like hurt their feelings or upset them in some way or whatever, I immediately shut down. So I think that's because I always want every moment to be, I always want to make everyone happy, and I want every moment to be sunshine and roses. And it's not going to be. And so to think that I, did something wrong or upset someone, like, just really defeats me.
And I get that. I mean, I definitely appreciate the honesty and the openness, because a lot of women do go through that, and the thing is, being a father, one of the things that I've learned, and of course, I have fathers of daughters surrounding me, so we're always constantly talking, and even with my own father, and he raised 2 daughters, and still speaking with him, especially, you know, when it comes to with my daughter, you know, I call him and be like, Dad, look, I don't know what to do, you know, and, you know, we'll talk and we'll have conversation, you know, and one of the things that I've learned is that a lot of fathers go wrong because their daughter doesn't hear the word no, you know. So just like you, in the sense of it's every daughter's innate sense. I don't want to disappoint my father, you know. I want to make sure that I'm always pleasing in the eyes of my father. I never want to, you know, have him be mad at me or disappointed in me. That's just the innate sense of every little girl that has some resemblance of a relationship with her father. But one of the things that I've learned is that, one, my daughter shows me what the things that I needed to work on, you know, and I can tell you that most, if not all, men who have daughters will tell you that the moment that their daughters came into this world, they softened. No other female could soften our hearts like our daughters do.
Mm-hmm.
Now, my daughter has heard me say no, and I can see the look in her eyes and in her face, like, I can't believe Dad said no. I don't want to ask him anything else anymore. And I've seen the heartbrokenness in her face. But here's the thing. If she doesn't understand, if she doesn't learn, and if she doesn't know from me, the first man that she ever sees and knows in her life, that no is not always a bad thing, then just like a lot of women, she will grow into the woman of, when she hears the term no, instead of just saying, okay, well, damn, well, why not? And maybe getting a better understanding of why that no was said, just like you said, she'll shut down. And she does that now, but I'm not moved by it.
No, I mean,
you know, but the reason why I say that is because when it comes to the spiritual sense of things, it can be just like the term that they say that too much of a good thing is a bad thing, because you become codependent on it.
Mm-hmm.
And when it comes to our relationships, going back to you had mentioning when you were giving your description, and you were saying that at times it may seem as if you don't appreciate it because you always want more, or you're looking for the next moment in time. We often, how should I put this? Because of that, what tends to happen is that the desire, you get women telling each other that, girl, you deserve the best of everything. That's where that bullshit logic comes, because daddy never told me no, so I think I'm entitled and deserve the best. Well, you don't. If you deserve exactly who you are.
No, 100%. And it's crazy because obviously I know these conversations, I mean, we don't rehearse these. We don't even, I mean, I didn't even know what we were going to be talking about today. But I know that they're meant to, like, you know, get the discussion out there and to just kind of maybe help someone else and talk to someone else. But it's really, really crazy because it's like they're helping me, like, all at the same time, because where this conversation is going is giving me very much clarification as to where my, like, stuck point is, and like where I've kind of, like, you know, hit a wall, because not that he never told me no, but my dad was always someone that, like, we would tell our friends, like, if he would say no, we can't do something, we'd be like, okay, I'm about to call you back in 5 minutes because he's about to change his mind. And so that was my whole life. I mean, I'm not going to say he never stuck with it, but I mean, for the most part, that was what I was used to. And so in a relationship, it's like, if you get told no, or I'm not going to do that, or I don't want to do that, then it's automatically, and they don't budge and they don't do it, then it's like, okay, well, you don't love me, or you don't care about me, or like, it's just like, okay, I've always been able to get the person, I've been enough to where it's like, oh, they've wanted me to be happy in that moment, so they've said yes, and they've changed their mind or whatever. And so when you say no, or you don't do something, or you're not willing to do what is going to make me happy, that is where I'm like, okay, well, you obviously don't care about me enough, or why, like, I'm like, that is where I'm realizing literally right now in this conversation, where I'm struggling with, because I always feel like I should be enough for you to, for you to eventually say, okay, sure, I'll come over, or yes, I want to see you enough, or yes, I'm going to do this for you, because that's always happened.
You know what? And that's heavy, man. See, and what that's a result of is women holding frame instead of the man holding frame. And what I mean by that is the boundaries, the rules and regulations of that particular relationship. Most women are holding the frame.
Yeah.
And so, just with the example that you gave, and then when a lot of women run into a man who actually holds frame, a lot of women, their anxiety level goes up, their depression levels go up, because a lot of women are asking those same questions that you just mentioned is, well, if they love me, they would, if they really cared, they would, but what most women don't realize, it's a man's job to protect you from you. But most women don't even realize that.
No, I mean, then you're 100%, correct. And let me just say this real quick. I mean, me and my dad have a great relationship. Like I said, he's been a great dad. He's been in my life, all 36 years. He's a girl dad. I mean, he has 4 girls. So, I mean, I think that obviously has something to do with, like, just the way that he went about raising us. He didn't have any, he never had an exam or an opportunity to, to raise a guy, to raise a man. But yeah, I mean, that's all I've had to go off of. But the men that I have had the best connections with have been men that want to hold that frame. And they're who I enjoy the most, and who I like I said, have the most connection with, and really could truly, like, see myself with. But I can never allow myself to get past, certain humps, because I end up ruining them, or making them say, you know what, this just isn't worth it, because I'm not going to continue, to do this, when we can never move forward, because this is where we end up just going in this, this circle, because I can never get past just feeling like I'm never enough, because of the way that the man that I do feel is best for me, and that I have the best connection with, the way that I feel like they approach situations, I can never allow myself to not sit there and feel like I'm not enough, and then essentially ruin those relationships. When really all along, they've never been telling me that I'm not enough. They've just been trying to steer the relationship in the way that they probably see that it should go, but I can't see past that.
Most women's downfall. I mean, just personally, I've let a lot of great women go because of that. And some great women have come in my life, and wanted opportunities with me, but you know, like I said, you know, with the things that are going on in my life and the direction that I'm headed, you know, when we was at the studio and had the conversation, I made the comment that, you know, if you're not happy with being fourth or fifth, you know, as far as, you know, importance in my life, then, you know, if you can't understand that, you know, so, I mean, I get what you're saying, you know, and I promise you, if you talk to 99.9% of men, they will tell you that they let great women go because those women didn't know how to move forward. Those women did not know how to get on his page, fall in line, in the sense of being cooperative within his purpose and direction in life, you know, and enjoyed whatever time that they had with one another. You know, so I mean, that says a lot. And see, tying it all in with spirituality, the first step of the spiritual process is acknowledgement. Once you acknowledge things that you see are your downfalls, such as your triggers, how you respond to things, and even uh, um, your learned toxic behavior and your uh, uh, um, your toxic communicative styles. You know, when we acknowledge those aspects in our lives that we need work on, now the next step is doing the work. And sometimes we need to take we might need to take 3 to 6 months out of to ourselves in order to pray and meditate and fast. Um, you know, fasting not just as a sense. Fasting is a great sense of discipline. You know, taking that thing that you believe that you so desperately need and just taking a break from it. And so many of us, so many women, they relationship hop. They never get whole after each relationship. So, you know, we call that monkey branching. You know, women swinging from one dick to the next dick. You know, never taking a cleanse from getting dick down and dickmatized. And so men never take the time to detox from yoni, you know, and just take time and, you know, 6 months just focus on their purpose and their direction in life. And then saying, okay, you know what? Maybe it's time for me to look for a woman that is worthy of being chosen, that will bring value to my life and what I have going on in my life. You know, and so, you know, just relationships as a whole is a difficult task, and we just make it more difficult because, you know, the men are the head, men are the leaders, you know, and women have power in their own rights within the divine feminine. The problem is women don't, first of all, don't understand femininity. Two, don't understand the divine feminine and the power that the divine feminine brings to the divine masculine. And so a lot of women believe that they're in competition with their man. First of all, there's nothing, you're not competing with your man, you're competing with other women who want your man. If women understood that first, every time he chooses her, there would be some semblance of appreciation. But because the dynamic is all off, there's no level of appreciation. And because one man did something for you, when the man that you're with does something that may be on a smaller level, you're like, oh, okay, whatever, thank you. And he's like, okay, well, fuck you then.
That's so real.
You know, so, oh, excuse me. You know, so I mean, we're way past our time.
I know. And my phone is like totally gonna die soon. I didn't think we were gonna be on here this long.
No, because I said 30 minutes and then we just got to talking and
but
everything.
You knew better. You should know better.
I won't break it up into segments. But, you know, just ending on that note, you know, I mean, this is great. You know, family, you know that, you know, on this show, you know, one of the two things that we always talk about is, you know, the dynamic when it comes to socially in relationships, and that can be difficult all on its own. And then when you add the spiritual aspect in it, I've said it time and time before, the church has not done its job. You know, you have feminism that has taken over the church. So the church doesn't push family as much as it used to. A lot of churches now teaching women that, one, it's okay to be single. When going according to scripture, that is not the woman's purpose. You know, and I'm gonna leave that there. But until the next time, first of all, go to MrCandidPodcast.com and pick up your merch, t-shirts. That's the white one. I got on the gray one. Also, hit Amanda up for the Fuck Your Feelings t-shirt. Because this entire episode, she talked entirely about her feelings. So we need to put an order in next week. So we want to honor her in her feelings. But definitely appreciate y'all. We'll be coming back live to the family next week. We needed a break. We grind. You know, we got personal lives, but we just took some time off. We're coming back. We will still do the pre-recordings, you know, every now and again, maybe every other week, and then bring you a live show every other week. You know, and do that. So we working on some stuff, family. Before the year's out, we want to have a couple more things in place for the family. Understand that your support of the show helps with the equipment, helps with the upkeep, the maintenance, purchasing new equipment. So that's what it goes to. You can see me a lot clearer.
Yay.
So I can't say it enough, man. I appreciate y'all, fam. Amanda's appreciate you.
Yes.
You know, even though she don't like y'all, you know.
Oh, whatever.
But until next time, this has been another episode of Candid Conversations on Mr. Candid Podcast with myself, Mr. Candid, and Amanda Sword. Say bye to the folks, Amanda.
Bye.
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 All right, family. Love y'all. Deuces.